Hi everyone, welcome to today's interview. I'm Neil from the Oxford University Press Professional Development Team. We're very lucky today. We've got Russell Stannard with us. Russell is the founder of teachertrainingvideos.com. He's received awards from the British Council Eltons, the Times Higher and the University of Westminster. He's got a really popular YouTube channel with nearly 70,000 subscribers. And Russell's going to talk to us today about digital competence. So Russell, thanks for being here today. Great to have you.
Yeah, nice to see you, Neil.
So you've got a really interesting idea that you're going to talk to us about today, and it's kind of how digital competence can help our learners achieve greater autonomy. What do you mean by that? Can you give us an example or show us?
Yeah, I've actually got a little slide if you want, just one slide just to describe a way of thinking about technology, which I could quickly screen share if that's okay.
Fantastic.
And I think that might kind of give us a really kind of idea about what I'm suggesting. So if I just jump over to here and open that slide up onto the screen. So when we talk about the use of technology, really we can think about technology in three places. We can talk about technology in class. So using technology in class. Now, I'm not a very big fan of using technology in class. Sometimes I do. I like doing tasks with technology in class, but generally I'm not a big fan of using technology in the lessons. What I like more is using technology for the homework, because I think we can offer a lot more variety in terms of the types of things that we can now do with students for homework. So watching videos on YouTube, listening to podcasts, collaborating together on homework, which is really interesting, and even doing things like recording yourself. So we can look at language learning or the use of technology by the teacher in the class or out of the class, but there's also another aspect to the use of technology, and that's things that students do independently. In other words, lots of students do things like play computer games, meet up with for example, speakers of the language that they're trying to learn on the internet, perhaps through Skype or through Zoom, or perhaps they like watching videos on or films on television or listening to podcasts, etc. So there's lots of things that we can do or that students do independently. Now, if we actually sort of more technically, we often talk about in-class use of technology, extracurricular, which is really linked just to the homework that the teacher sets. We call that extracurricular. And then we've got this concept of extramural. Now, I've done a few surveys with my teachers and asked them, okay, how did you really learn to speak English? Okay, so most of the teachers that I work with are English teachers. And about 85% of them said that really they learnt the language extramurally. In other words, really at the end of the day, to learn a language, it's all the effort that you take outside of the classroom on your own. Now, we're not necessarily talking about the lower levels, but particularly as you get to a higher level, I think if you speak to most people, I mean, I speak about 3 languages, and all of those languages really at the end of the day, though the teacher has helped me, it's really what I've done on my own. So one of the things that we can think about when we're thinking about technology is how we can introduce and use technologies, particularly introducing the digital competencies that the students need so that they can work extramurally. They can do activities on their own. The more we use technology that opens up opportunities for them to study on their own, the better. And that's one way to think about the use of technology. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no. I mean, it does make a great deal of sense, especially as you say, coming up to the higher levels, that kind of extra effort that you put into, you just find that exposure to the language, I guess, is what's important. Have you got an example maybe you can show us of the kind of way digital competence can help us do that?
Yeah, okay, so let's think about YouTube, because we all use YouTube, and I'm currently learning Polish, and I'm obsessive about the use of YouTube. You know, I'm still a fan of a book. I still got my book that I use, but particularly as a structure, but I do make quite a lot of use of YouTube. And I'll just give you some really simple examples of the sorts of things that we can introduce students to so that they really become aware of what they can actually do with YouTube. So if I jump over, I can hopefully just jump onto YouTube very quickly. Let me just jump out of that presentation a minute. Let me just click on the screen and jump out of that. So if I'm on YouTube here, and I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say I want to learn about shopping in English. So I'm going to say shopping. I'm going to search for shopping Okay, shopping in English. Okay.
Okay.
And that brings up a certain number of videos, but I could actually filter to be much more specific. For example, I learned Polish, and what I always do is click on filter and look for videos that have got subtitles. So I click here, and now it's only showing me videos that have got subtitles. And I
Great.
can actually see
Okay.
that here, see. Now, if I click again, I could even say to myself, well, I want videos between 4 and 20 minutes or less than 4 minutes. So I could then click on that button, and it's going to bring up another set of videos for me. Okay, so if I clicked on one of these videos, so for example, I clicked on this one here, okay, and brought that up onto the screen, you can see that we've got the subtitles on the screen here. And if I click over here, just to show you a couple of things, in fact, it's already, because I normally have it set to open, you can actually open the transcript on the right-hand side or close it down. So it's really useful to have that option if you want to. When you choose a video that's got transcripts, you've got this little button down here. You can click on it and open up the transcripts onto the screen. So more powerful than that even is that you can click on that transcript and jump to that specific part of the video. So this really gives you a lot of control over the video. Now, one other thing that you can do as well, because sometimes when you open up the transcript, you'll see that it's got the toggle and you've got the kind of timings. If you don't want to see those, again, you can click at the top here and get rid of those. So all these sorts of things can really help students to be more effective, because they can find topics they're interested in, find the right length of video, find videos that have got the supporting transcripts. And even, Neil, we can take it a little bit further. I'll just show you a couple of other things that I do a lot in Polish. One of them, for example, is that I click here on settings, and then I can change the playback speed. And in fact, you can see that I've even got it set at a slower speed, because generally when I listen to Polish, I slow the speed down. All of those things can really help a student to be a little bit more kind of autonomous. So I'll introduce these ideas in the class or as part of the homework, so that students can then hopefully do these things on their own. I'm always thinking about that extra kind of extramural type of activities.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, reducing the speed is really going to help comprehension, isn't it?
Yep.
So just one last thing, Russell. So we found all this fantastic language in the transcript. Can you maybe show us a couple of tricks that we could do with this language, or some things we can do to help us maybe memorize it or learn it?
Okay, in my talk, in my presentation, I talk about this a lot, but I'll show you a couple of examples, okay? Because there really are some lovely things you can do. So if I, again, come back to screen share, so it's just jump back to that video. And we'll have to jump around a little bit here, but I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to click and select that and copy it. Okay, so I can select some text. So let's say I didn't understand one of the two of the words in there. I'm going to just copy that. Okay, and then I'm going to jump over to, and I'll have to open up another tab here. I'm going to have to jump over to Google, and I'm going to click on Google Translate. And what I can do in Google Translate, and I'll do it from English to Polish, but obviously it might be, in most cases, going to be from English to Spanish where you work. But if I can do it to Spanish, okay, so we'll do that. So I can then paste the text in, and I'm going to get a translation into Spanish. Wow. Now, what I can then do is I can add that to my list of words that I'm currently studying. And if I click on that button now, that's now been added. And if I come down to here, I can actually see all my list developing as I add new words. And I can just build up a list of, say, 10 or 15 words. And I can listen to these at any time. So if I wanted to listen to that in English, I can just click here. Okay, let's take an example here.
So in this lesson, you'll learn lots of expressions with the word shopping.
Okay, so I can, and I can do that with all of them.
Fast English, without getting lost, without missing the jokes, and without subtitles.
So I can build up a list here of vocabulary or key phrases. Of course, I could have just copied one word. It doesn't have to be a complete sentence, but I generally in Polish work in complete sentences. I find it really helps me. It's just select what you want to, get the translation for, maybe because there's a particular word that you don't understand. And then remember to click on this button here, because it then builds up a lovely collection of all the words. And I can open these up anytime and just quickly revise them. It's really, really powerful. I'm quite a fan of Google Translate, and I use it a lot in Polish.
Well, one thing, Russell, and maybe this is just me being not correct about this, but are there issues with Google Translate? Is it accurate? Is it reliable?
It's a really good question, and it is a fair question, Neil. Right. So the answer to that is, look, it's not 100%. It's not 100%, but Google Translate is based on all the language that's on the internet, and so therefore it's becoming more and more accurate. And I use it in Polish, and my wife is Polish, and she often looks at the translations, and very rarely, and I've been studying now for 2.5 years, very rarely does she say to me, Russell, really, that's not quite right. There are occasions, but in all honesty, it is incredibly accurate, particularly with the high volume languages like Spanish, like German, like French, like English. Generally, it's very, very good. And even in Polish, as I said, she said, so for the odd mistake or the odd slightly strange translation, the amount that you could, how effective it is as a tool, I think it's really worth using.
Fantastic. Well, and I guess as a free resource, it really is something very powerful that we can all make use of.
Exactly. So those skills, those digital competencies, giving those skills to our students can really help them to work and study on their own, to do more and more extramural activities. And that's clearly one of our goals as teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Russell, that has been really enlightening, in just a short amount of time to share so many ideas. So thank you very much for being with us today. For loads more ideas, check out Russell's webinar. It's fantastic. And thanks again. And hopefully we'll see you again, maybe for another little interview in the future, Russell.
Okay. Cheers, Neil. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.